All right, hello, everybody. This is your girl, Dawn M. Williams. You are listening to Research Shows Podcast. Today, I have my guest, a repeat guest, Miss Virginia Davis. She is an entrepreneur, author, a teacher, and poet, and much more. And that's all we can think of right now. So, how you doing today, Miss Virginia?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm doing pretty good. All right, so let's get into this. So, how does your writing contribute to your piece? Like, is writing therapeutic to you? Describe to everybody, what does writing do for you?
Yes, absolutely. It's therapeutic for me. It has been since I first started writing around the age of like 14. So it feels good to like release any pent up emotions I have. Like I'll just free write or I'll journal out my thoughts if I have like a big decision to make. Or even when it comes to like creative writing, like I often will write my poems down. Even if I don't get to journal them, like I'll put it in my notes app. And I don't know, it's just empowering for me. Like it changes my mindset, especially if I'm in a bad space. Like writing just, it helps me feel empowered and helps me to make decisions. So absolutely it's therapeutic for me.
Absolutely. So, what do you prefer? Like, would you rather type stuff out? Or do you like actually physically writing stuff out with pen and paper?
I have so many journals, like way more journals than I can even believe, but I like physically writing things out because how does the saying go? It's actually a Bible verse, like write the vision and make it plain. Like especially
Hmm.
if I'm trying to like manifest something or I'm trying to affirm myself, I believe in the power of writing it down. And sometimes like I'll write it down repeatedly.
Okay.
And I love going back and like looking at my old journals and seeing like my thoughts and the things that I've actually like manifested and such. So yes.
Yes, I noticed that as well. Like when I write stuff down, and then I'll be like, I wrote that. Like even if it's just like a regular email I sent somebody, like I
Right.
did that. You know, even though and even my son when I'm reading his stuff, I'm like, ain't no way he wrote this. You know, and I'll be sitting there googling it, making sure he didn't plagiarize. But it's amazing how you
Right.
realize how where your brain goes when
Yeah.
you're writing. You know,
Hmm.
so. What was the driving factor for your love of writing?
Um, I think it started when I realized I had a talent. Like around like elementary school, like I would write stuff and my teachers would be like, "Oh, it's so good." And I remember like in maybe third grade, we had to like write a creative story. And I wrote something about like a deer that could talk or something. And my
Right.
third grade teacher was like blown away. She had me share it with the class. And then when I really like started taking time to like actually explore my talent around the age of like 14, like I don't know, like I just never stopped. Like I always knew that writing was going to be some component of my career.
Right.
So yes.
And you were
Going
you an English major, Virginia, if I'm not
yes.
mistaken? Okay,
Yes,
so
I
that's why
was
you look. Look,
undergrad, I was English and literature. So
look. That I was saying. Now it makes sense why you is so like such a stickler with like what they call the word police. You know what I'm saying? Where it's like even if you do a mistype with me on the text, you'll say I'll be like, you ain't gotta auto correct it with me, but it makes sense now. It makes
yeah,
sense.
it's funny because I was in a group text and I realized that a group like a group chat text, and I realized that I had misspelled something like days later, and I went back and corrected it, and my friend was like, girl, like seriously, like why did you have to do that? It's like, no, it didn't sit right with me, I had to fix it.
Okay.
Right.
So to everybody, do you need inspirations to start a new project? I could imagine you do. I could imagine it's like stuff happens and it just spurs off a new ideas, right? For writing projects.
Absolutely. Once I have an idea, I'll write it down, and then when a whole bunch of other ideas come at me, like I try to ground myself. I feel like, well, when the inspiration comes, I'll write it down. I don't know if I like need inspiration. Like I just get ideas. I
Right.
think I have to stay. I have to find inspiration if sometimes like I get like overwhelmed by life, and that'll create like writer's block, or if I'm like having issues with time management, like taking time to work on that project,
Right.
which also gives me like anxiety and causes writer's block. So for me, like staying inspired is like listening to certain music, listening to some podcasts that motivate me. Of course, spending time in nature when the weather is nice. So
Right.
it's about like staying inspired as I encounter obstacles after I have that idea. That's the
Right.
main thing.
Absolutely.
Right.
And I'm glad
So
you mentioned that about the anxiety because people don't be knowing that affects your creativity. When stuff happens in life, it might actually put blockers up.
absolutely.
And people
Yes.
don't. I'm glad you said that.
Mm-hmm.
Because that happens to me too, where I'll be like, I can't do nothing today.
Right.
It's just
Yeah,
not
it
gonna happen.
happens.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a part of life. So,
Right.
um, okay, what was the inspiration for each of your books? You got a lot of books, so that's a
I
long question.
know.
Look, you,
um
how many books do you have? First of all,
One, two. Well, I consider that. Well, I guess I can consider that a book, even though it's like 6 pages in ebook. So
hmm
one, two, Sheep's Place, then four, then five, six. So around seven and a half, if I count
right.
growing up to the box. So let's just say seven. You
So,
want me to
so,
pick one?
give me the inspiration behind your most, like your the book you're the most proud of.
Oh, wow. Okay. Which one am I the most proud of?
And if it's
Okay.
two, then give me two.
Okay, so one of the books I'm most proud of is Songs at Dawn. I'm
Uh-huh.
proud of it because it was my second poetry book that wasn't just like haikus, because By the Ocean came out before, but it was a book of haikus, a certain form of poetry.
hmm
But Songs at Dawn, like I incorporated everything. It was a couple of haikus, it was free verse, etc. And it was like the second poetry book that was like that form, that had that same form as The Mending, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Oh,
And
okay.
I like The Mending was extremely successful, so I felt a lot of pressure with doing Songs at Dawn, but I love seeing my growth as a person, like as an individual, as a mom, as a woman, as a Black woman in in Songs at Dawn. So I think that's the book I'm most proud of right now.
Okay. All
Oh,
right.
and you said my inspiration behind it. Is that what you
Yeah.
said? Okay. So my inspiration was to actually continue to show my growth, especially like as a writer, like post what I was going through at the time when I wrote The Mending, which was like a really bad breakup. But I
hmm
encountered like things since then. So just being able to show the world like my evolution over the course of those, I think it was around 3 years, three
You
and a
know,
half years.
you sound like them musicians when they be
Oh,
saying how their stuff goes from one project to another and how what
yes.
was happening in their life inspired, their music.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So, and let me see. Tell everybody how the publishing process is. Like when you go through either I think you did well, you do editing, you do the whole thing, right? Like the
I
whole
do. But
yeah.
I utilize an editor now,
Uh-huh.
just because it feels good to have a second set of eyes. Because when you publish something, like the good thing about self publishing is that you can't always go back and fix errors, but that becomes overwhelming. So
It
I am
does.
definitely like a stickler for finding someone else to like help you fine tune things, to catch things you might have overlooked. Cause even now, like if I like I'll have like if I've had someone else like read one of my books in front of me, like I'll catch it like, oh my God, I wish I had done this and done that. I wish I had, but I'm also kind of hard on myself. But I feel like it's definitely important to have a second set of eyes.
Yeah,
Um,
because they're reading it in a different way or interpreting it different than you would.
right.
Yeah.
But so the process goes, I've only self-published. One day I probably will traditionally publish. We'll see what happens. But I
Okay.
chose to self-publish because I knew that I would be like in charge of my work. So the first step is, of course, like you write your book. I start with like an idea, an outline, and then some writers use like different products. I stick to Microsoft Word or Google, like Google Docs. And
Right.
then once I'm finished, I'll read it 1,000 times. I'll have my editor look at it. What we're working on now, another book that's going to be released later this year. Like we have probably had about 15 rounds, like no no lie, not even exaggerating, of back and forth with fixing things and editing things, taking things out. Um, then once everything is finished, then you need to format it so that you can put it in so that you can publish it to Amazon.
Right,
Um,
right. And that could be
Amazon,
hard, right? Especially,
yes,
yeah, because you got to have a laptop, right, for the KDP, I think.
right. Yeah, I feel like it would be difficult doing it with like an iPad
Yeah,
or a tablet or what have you, or a phone. But the good thing is that Amazon does have like different templates you can choose from going by the size of your book. So say I chose a 6x9, then I could take the template that they have in Amazon and download it and put my content in there. And
right,
so after you format it, you add your page numbers, etc. Then you upload it to Amazon, and
right,
once you upload it, you can preview it, and that's when you can catch like the page breaks that shouldn't be there, the words that didn't fit. So they do like they tell you what needs to be fixed, and that's where it can get a little, yeah, it
it
can be a bit
can.
much. Yes,
It
but
can.
there are people you can hire who like that's their profession, like that's part of their profession, formatting.
Right,
Uh-huh.
like on Fiverr, that when I
Fiverr,
did my
yep.
first one, yeah. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, because she caught a lot of stuff I wouldn't necessarily catch on the smaller projects. I said, no, I just put that thing through Grammarly call it a day. Like the technology for singers and stuff like that. Like I
All
don't need
right.
all that. But
Right. That formatting, whew, it can get intense. But
it
once you
does.
overcome that, you can keep going. Once you climb that mountain, nothing's stopping you. So
To me, that's another level of anxiety. By the time you get finished, it's like, oh my goodness, I gotta go through this format and and yeah.
yeah.
So
Mhm.
let me see.
Oh, I forgot
Um,
the picture. But yeah, you upload your cover and all of that, and yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
Do you design your own cover or do you like outsource?
Um The past few, I've designed them myself. I've designed them from images. Like I usually like utilize Canva or something like that.
Yeah, I love
Um,
Canva.
but I've hired people in the past to do. I had someone do the mending for me. I had someone do Sheba's Place. So it's a combination of both. The book that's coming out, one of the books that's coming out this year, Growing Up to the Perfection, I did that one. But the next book cover, I'm gonna hire someone. It's gonna be the first book where I'm gonna put like people on it. I like to be different, so I haven't had like humans on any of my books yet.
Oh, okay.
It's trying
Okay.
to be different. So yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So talk to everybody about your television feature. Like I think people don't understand how that happens and how
Oh,
connection happens. When you were featured on a television show for your hometown and it was in Berlin, right?
so I'm from Berlin, Maryland. It was the news. It's called Delmarva Now, and it's in Salisbury, Maryland.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So how wasn't it like you knew somebody or something happened? You know what I'm saying?
So it happened so randomly.
Right.
It
That's
was
how
one
stuff
of those
happens.
it was one of those things where I put the idea out there and I didn't really think that it was going to happen. It was like, okay, I'm going to shoot my shot. So we were on our way, my mother and my baby and I, we were on our way home that summer for an event for like a weekend. And I was trying to think of ways to like promote my book more. And I thought of the series. So it's on the news station at home. I can't think of the station right now. But
Okay.
Delmarva Now is one of the programs that's on the station. I feel terribly that I can't think of the station. Oh my goodness. Channel 16. There's more to it, but WBOC, that's what it's called. And
Okay.
so I was like, oh, I should contact them. Like I know they feature people, local talent, so I'll send them an email. So I sent an email while we're in the car, and it was about a 3-hour drive. And they responded to me within like maybe 30 minutes. And I was
Shut
like,
your
what?
mouth. See?
And she was like, oh, okay. Like, can you come tomorrow? And I was
Yes.
like, tomorrow. And
See?
I wanted to be like, oh no, no, no. I was like thinking maybe within a couple weeks because I got so scared. But my
Right.
mom was like, do it, do it. And I was like, okay. I was like, okay, I can do it. And so I was like started planning my outfit. I was like, okay, I do have some clothes with me. And then I was so nervous and so excited. Like
Right.
I barely slept. And like I can even like if I zoom in on the clip, I can tell where I look so tired. Like I was, oh my god, like, I didn't
Just
really
nervous.
think it was going to happen, and then it just did. So yeah, it was an amazing experience.
And
Absolutely.
that's inspiring because I think a lot of people don't realize that you got to jump out there a lot of times.
Right.
Like it's just like you think stuff just gonna happen. It's like
Mhm.
you have to just be like, I'm gonna jump out there for this opportunity,
Right.
and
Right.
that's how stuff happens a lot of times. So
Absolutely. Mhm.
we're going to shift into you a teacher. I did mention that at the beginning. So do you
Yes.
encourage your students to write like over the years, throughout your teaching experiences? And then if so, can you tell when some of your students have a particular writing gift?
Absolutely. I try to promote them to I try to promote writing as much as I can. Of course, like there's I have to follow the curriculum, but one summer I taught like 5 summers ago now. I taught a creative writing course and I love seeing like how creative like they really are. And even now, like with certain projects that we do, like I could tell or essays, like I can tell like when a student has a talent or a niche for or nick for writing. So I do encourage them to like free write. A couple of them that if they're going through something, they come to me and I'll be like, look, hey, write it out, journal, let your thoughts out. And I like exploring like poetry with them. A few like they like doing the haiku poems, which of course is my favorite. They're short poems.
Yes.
Um,
When you go back over your projects, do you ever surprise yourself? Like what I was saying earlier. And I know we already said it, but like how often does it happen? Does it happen a lot where you be like, wow, you know what I'm saying?
yes, absolutely, especially when it comes to probably the mending and songs that don't like the past few, like the most recent projects.
Right.
Absolutely, especially when I see like the poems I wrote about where I was heartbroken or whatnot, just to see like my healing process of
Right,
how
right.
things used to have me stuck in a certain place, like how I've like evolved and I'm not there anymore. It's just absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah,
Sometimes, yeah.
absolutely. That's so true
Mm-hmm.
because we solve problems differently depending on how old we are. It just changes from year to year. Like I was tripping off that, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
I handled that in that way. I would have did this now.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
all right. So, what made you take the first step when you like how you jumped out there for the TV show? How did you jump out there to get your first book published? What was like the inspiration for you to be like, you know what, I'm going to write a book, the very first one?
Well, my very first one is like a short little ebook. It was a response to a prompt in a writing magazine. Maybe it was like
Uh
the
huh.
writer or something. So and it was around the time, I think I spoke on it before on your podcast. It was around the time when there was a lot of like racial tension,
Uh
like
huh.
2015, 16, like not too long after Sandra Bland. And in response to the prompts, I kind of like incorporated that.
Uh huh.
And I felt as though like, oh yeah, like I really want to share like my thoughts on this. And I had no idea like that was going to be my first project, because my first project was actually supposed to be a children's book, which I actually ended up like I haven't published it yet, but that's because of some other things that I have to look into about being
Right.
able to
Right.
publish that, as far as like trademarking and stuff. But anyway, I had no idea that was going to be my first project, and then I did a follow-up to it. And yeah, it's a two-part series. It's Color of Crime. And
Right.
yeah, I guess in a way, like all of the things that were happening in that time, that's what inspired me to create my first project and to publish it.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, oh yeah, here go. This is my question right here. In the despair that's happening in America with our youth, do you think that writing may be a positive outlet for the ones having difficulty with adversity? Why or why not?
Absolutely. I think like writing can like help our youth overcome like the obstacles that they have today. I think part of the issue is because a lot of our youth, like some of them are like really overwhelmed to the standard that they're being held to. Like I teach high school,
Yeah.
and they're like a lot of them are in like AP classes, and
Mm-hmm.
you
Mm-hmm.
know they have their parents. Everyone has such, like me too, has such high expectations of them, and I think
Mm-hmm.
because they are so overwhelmed with like schoolwork and such, like
Mm-hmm.
they don't see writing as like something to do for leisure. Some of them, yes, but a
Right.
lot of them, it's like another task. So I feel like it kind of takes away from, for it being like cathartic for them or like an art. And so that's where I see where it kind of like it's hard for them to
Right.
see it as a way for them to navigate struggles and stuff. but it
Yeah.
could be if they just had, if they just had more time to explore it as an art, I guess, is
That's
what I'm
true.
saying.
That's true. Because time, it makes it make you, when you relax and have enough time to do other stuff, it kind of
Right.
makes you explore, what your how to get new ways of stress relief and this kind of stuff.
Right.
So, how do you feel about this new AI bot writing movement? Because I think Amazon went into like banning it, like where they could tell if you tried to use it. Like it's like people no longer have creativity, and a lot of people just is straight up doing that whole, you know what I'm talking about, where they take a whole book and say it's theirs and you can actually purchase it. I forgot what that's called. Uh, but what do you think
I
about
don't
it?
know. Yeah, I'm not, of course, like I am not a fan of AI. I don't even, believe it or not, I don't know much about it. I just know that I'm not a fan of it. I've never explored it. I've absolutely been able to tell when, when a student or students have come at me with like the same product or the same content. So they pretty
Right.
much like know like not to, do that. But I no, I'm not a fan of it. I believe in being authentic, navigating your own talent. Someone
Right.
said that there's something you can do to like give you ideas or something, I guess in Chat GPT or something. I mean, I don't know if there's anything wrong with like getting ideas, but
Oh no,
like
they got you
no.
writing entire like
Oh no,
manuscripts.
no.
I'm talking about sometimes it actually will like AI generate a whole manuscript for you, or you could purposely just
What?
buy it. Absolutely. Or you could just buy it
Wow.
flat out. And I forgot what
No.
that's called. I can't think of what that's called. It was where you could, buy a whole, like let's say you buy a whole book of recipes or
Mm-hmm.
you buy a whole book of affirmations. You can
Right.
actually buy that's already made and it's legal, kind of like how you go to the no copyright pictures website. They actually got no
Wow.
copyright whole manuscripts. You know what I'm saying? Where you just buy it.
Wow. And you can just
Yeah,
buy it and you can sell it, or like you just,
absolutely. Absolutely. I
that's
forgot what it's
insane.
called. It was this guy who was selling it and he had to explain it like, how you have a brand of cereal and
Mm-hmm.
then if you buy the off brand, it's the exact same thing. It's because they're made in the same factories. It's like they got a license for it.
Wow.
It's like that. Yeah, that's
Mm.
a thing now, girl. All
I
right.
can't
So,
believe the way things have changed.
oh,
That's
honey, let
insane.
me tell you something, because it's like it's a high stress society. So your
Yeah.
creativity is like stamped out. It's like you don't even
Mm.
have the room. Everybody got high anxiety, high stress, like you
Right.
said, even students. So what do you
Mm-hmm.
do if you're trying to hustle and you're trying to get a product out there? You could just buy stuff already made, honey.
Mm.
Look, you're gonna buy
Wow.
authenticity.
Wow.
So, okay, so what inspired you to write your new book? You got a new book coming up, right?
Yes. Yes.
So
It's mhm.
let's talk about this new book. Tell everybody your inspiration, what it's about, what we got to look forward to.
Yes, it's called Growing Up Cinnapuxent. It's a memoir. It's about my growing up on the Eastern Shore of Maryland. I grew up in a town called Berlin, Maryland, on a back road called Cinnapuxent. So that's why it's called Growing Up Cinnapuxent. So it speaks a lot on like my upbringing. I would say until like around age 18 is where I stopped. So yeah, it talks about all of the things that happened in my life, the things that transpired that helped me blossom into the woman I am now. From growing up with my grandmother in the house, from often feeling like isolated because like literally like it's like a very like country area. The road
Right,
is like surrounded by trees, and I would say in especially like elementary and middle school, some of high
right,
school, like I didn't have like a lot of friends and stuff, so it was like going to school, coming home, like just being home, and I would spend a lot of time in nature and like you know spending time with my grandma, like my mom and stuff, and my brothers were older than me, so I kind of
right,
felt like I felt like an only child. So yeah, it's
right.
just about my upbringing and the things that I navigated as a young child and as a young adult.
And really, when you look at life how it is, to me, that's something that's a beautiful upbringing. Because like
Right.
how Umar grew up in the city and then never imagined himself living in a country area and
Right.
enjoying it. You see what I'm saying? It's beautiful. You know?
Absolutely. Absolutely
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah. So how does
Okay.
your grandmother and your relationship with her shape you into the writer that you are today? Because you already mentioned that it had to do with the new book, Growing Up Six Sign Puck. how you pronounce it? I'm sorry.
Cinepuxent, yeah, it
Cinepunxton.
is.
Look, Cinepunxton.
Right, when you type it like on anything, like you still get the red line for it. Well, on my phone, and I think on
Yeah.
yeah, I do get the blue line when I'm writing. Like, it's a word. It's Cinepuxent Bay. Is it Bay or Cinepuxent River? I don't know, but anyway, so my grandmother, she passed away in 2011. I'm actually named after my grandmother. Our middle
Oh
names are just
wow.
different, and so yes, she had she raised 9 kids, and she has a lot of grandchildren and a
Right.
lot of great grands. I have a really big family, but for me, like we always had the closest relationship because, like, for one, I'm named after her, and then my mom worked a lot. My grandfather passed away when I was younger, and when I was like 6. So I spent like a lot of time with my grandmother. So like who she was as a person, it definitely like helped me evolve to who I am. Like she believes in trying to overcome anything. She was the type of person, like, no matter who you are or what
Right.
you've done, she could see the good in you, and she could like forgive you. There's nothing you could do that wouldn't like she might be upset for a while. She might like let you know that it wasn't right, but she'll forgive you. And she was just such a virtuous person. And I don't like, of course, like I don't consider myself to be that perfect, but in a sense, like I do have this within me. Like I do like try to see the good in people. Like once I
Yeah.
see that there isn't good, I'm just like, okay. But yeah, I think she just like really helped me to understand like the power of prayer. Like I know it's
Mm-hmm.
cliche to say that, oh, your grandmother's prayers are still protecting you, but I know that there are so many things that I overcame, or in so many traps that I like should have got trapped in. But it's
Mm-hmm.
because of like my grandmother praying for me. All the like she would literally like wake up in the morning on her knees praying for like 30 minutes, and then like 5 times a day just prayer. And for me, like
Oh,
that's how I overcome things. Like even even like with like journaling and writing. But yeah, prayer absolutely is instrumental to my success and to who I am as a person. And just like looking back, like it's just like she helped me to like understand who I was. Because
right.
for she used to tell me, I actually write about this, like she used to tell me when I was like 7 or 8, like she called me Ginger, and she'd be like, Ginger, you're not scared of nothing. You're not scared of nothing. And then she would tell other people that like Ginger not scared of nothing. And it would be like, well, she has to be scared of something. And like now that I'm older, like I get what she saw in me. Like, of course, I have fears, but I am like, I stand up for myself. I know how to be assertive. Like I know
Right.
how to go after things. So she saw things like within me at a young age that I didn't even, that I didn't even recognize. And
Absolutely.
so
And that's the writings of a wonderful grandparent. You know what I'm saying?
absolutely. Right.
That's not intimidated by it or jealous. They just like,
Right.
let me hone in on it and make sure that this young lady knows, you know?
Absolutely. And even back then she would tell me, oh, you're a hard worker. You're a hard worker. And I would be like, I am. Like I did start working at like 14, my first job. I was a hostess at a
Right.
restaurant in Ocean City called Dough Roller. And I remember I had come home like my last year of college, my last semester. Like I was taking one class and I was working 2 jobs. And I came home for like we came home for like her birthday celebration or something. And I remember I was sitting beside her and she told me, she was like, Ginger, like, don't work too hard. You got to take some time for yourself. You got to take some time to rest. Don't
Yep.
work too hard. And sometimes when I'm like, okay, I need to do this, I need to do that, like, I think of that. Like, yes, it is okay for me to like take a break and
It
watch
sure
a
is.
show or
It
something.
sure is. Because it's like they
Yes,
got you thinking in society you got to keep working, and that's just not realistic. You know, you have to
absolutely.
give yourself a break, and that's where your upbringing probably comes in, with you growing up in a country and having that peace and serenity in your
Right.
environment. That's actually a blessing to have experienced that. You know,
Absolutely. Yes, and I have a newfound appreciation for it, which I think I told you on the last
you did.
time. Yeah, I
I
have a newfound
remember.
appreciation now that I'm older, like, and the book
Right.
shows that too.
Absolutely. So
Mhm.
You're gonna give everybody a plug. Where can they find your information at? Give your social media, website, whatever you would like to give, and the release date for this new book.
Absolutely. You can find me at authorvirginiadavis.com. There's a signed copy of the book, Growing Up Cinepexcent, that you can order there. The book is going to be relaunched actually next Monday. Is that next Monday, the 21st? Yes.
Okay.
So, yeah, you
So
can
by
find
the
it.
time this airs, it'll already be out.
My social media, you can find me on Instagram at locks_and_lit. Also Facebook, Author Virginia Davis. Oh, please subscribe to my YouTube, Author Virginia Davis. I just started. Well, I've been a part of YouTube for a while, but I just started posting and growing my YouTube probably since about July of last year. So you can find me there. I release poems there and affirmations, and yeah, that's where you can find me.
Great. So thank
It's
you so much, Virginia. I really appreciate you. One of my favorite repeat guests. I only got about a handful of y'all that I'm like,
oh.
yeah. It's only a handful of y'all that keep coming. I'm like, yeah, we're gonna keep it like this. I really appreciate you coming and
It's a
spending your
pleasure.
Saturday with me.
Thank you.
Okay. So okay, so don't forget, everybody, you can listen to other episodes of Research Shows Podcast by going straight to the researchdepartments.com and clicking on Research Shows Podcast. It's also available on my app. These entrepreneur episodes are they air during our on season every Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And don't forget, have a wonderful day on purpose.